Good evening, good night, good afternoon, or good morning, wherever you are in the world. You have just watched the mighty Niarco winning the Grand Prix de Paris in 1938. Niarco, bred and owned by Senatore Federico Tesio and Marchese Mario Incisa della Rocchetta under the banner of Razza d'Ormello Giatta, was unbeaten, and when he went to stud with this progeny, he completely changed the world of thoroughbred. You should bear in mind that nowadays, anywhere, anytime there is a race on the planet, at least over 90% of the horses running, I'm talking about thoroughbred, they carry Niarco's blood. And this is a phenomenal achievement. Tonight, I have to say that we have a very special guest because we have somebody who is heavily involved in horse racing, but he was and he is heavily involved in art. As I say in the headline, Peter Brant collecting gems. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Carlo. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much. As I say, collected gems because it's well known that in your career you discovered a guy called Jean-Michel Basquiat. You've been a close friend to Andy Warhol, to all these famous painters, artists, and you are a big collector of modern art. How did you start that? Probably you met, I know that there was at the time, there was in New York that Leo Castelli, that was a very famous art, he had a very famous art gallery. I don't know if you started with him or in which way. Can you explain us?
Yes, I started with him when I was 18 years old, and then a big influence to me was Bruno Bischofberger, the art dealer from Switzerland. And I certainly, not to correct you, but I didn't discover Jean-Michel Basquiat. He was, I discovered him at the beginning of his career, which, many other people in Europe and in the States knew of his work.
Yes, but anyway, you are, how can I say, you are a big collector of Basquiat paintings.
Yes, I am.
And also Andy Warhol, I think.
Yes, for sure.
I've been told that recently there was a big, what in your art gallery in New York, there was a lot of Warhol paintings were on show.
It's a foundation gallery. It's a foundation that we have.
I can't hear you very well.
I said it is a foundation gallery. It's not a personal gallery. Belongs to our foundation, and there was an Andy Warhol exhibition. Yes.
And then yes, but at the same time, you develop a very deep interest in horse racing.
Yes, my beginning interest in horse racing was when I was a student. I went to a school not too far, 10.
I'm sorry, but the voice is very, if you can maybe.
Can you hear better now?
Yes, I can hear you better.
Okay, so I went to a school that was when I was 14, 15 years old, that was very close to Aqueduct Racetrack, and I used to go there with friends and try to sneak our way in and watch the great horses like Kelso and Carryback and horses like that run, and that's how I first got interested in horse racing. It really was from the betting side.
I see. Most of the people, that then will be involved in horse racing, they started as you did, going racing and then placing a few bets and then getting interested. But you won the Kentucky Derby with Swale, a son of Seattle Slew, in 1984, and the Belmont Stake, which is a very good achievement for an owner.
Yes, that was in 1984.
Yes.
And we won that with Claiborne Farm and William Hagen Perry and Ed Cox.
But have you bought the Swale at the sales, or you just came across to him in a different way?
No, we bought, it was a private partnership that Claiborne Farm did. They bred him, and it was through that partnership that we won the Kentucky Derby in '84 and the
And
Belmonts.
then that was something, I have to say, magic. In this case, I can use the expression that you discovered Mr. Prospector in Florida, if you wish, and you brought him to Claiborne Farm in Kentucky, and everybody knows that Mr. Prospector became a milestone in the history of turf. How
Yes.
come that you
Well,
did that?
he had already started at stud down there, and he was producing very nice horses with mares that were kind of underachievers, and it just looked like he was, of course, he was the highest price yearling at the Keeneland summer sale from that crop. It was the same crop as Secretariat, and he went to stud, and he was really doing well, and he was a very fast horse. But his achievements, he didn't win any Group Ones, or he was just a very fast horse and very well-bred horse. So yes, we had a lot of success with him, and like all of us, we're looking for the next Niarco or the next Mr. Prospector or Northern Dancer that might change the breed somewhat.
Because, as I said at the beginning of this program, Niarco completely changed the world of racing, and then Northern Dancer arrived, and Mr. Prospector arrived. So those three horses are three milestones in the history of breeding, because without them, probably we will have a completely different thoroughbred.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then Galileo arrived. So
That's Galileo, of course, coming from Niarco as well.
right.
But then I have to say that after Mr. Prospector, you bred a Kentucky Derby winner, Thunder Gulch, owned by Mr. Michael Tabor, and then you bred Gulch, the sire of Thunder Gulch, and you bred the dam of Thunder Gulch, Line of Thunder, who was in training in Newmarket with Luca Cumani, and I remember that she finished second in the Chivoli Park Stakes.
That is correct. And,
so
it started with when I was playing polo in England. I went to Ascot, and I saw a mare called Shoot a Line finish second in the Gold Cup. So she came. Thunder Gulch came from out of European grass mares, except for the side of Gulch, and that mare that he was out of was by Gulch out of Stormbird mare.
Stormbird, yes. So anyway, so you won the Kentucky Derby with Swale, and then you bred a Kentucky Derby winner, the sire of a Kentucky Derby winner, the dam of the Kentucky winner. Not easy to achieve those results. Anyway, if you don't mind, now we have a short break, and then we will come back very soon. Please don't go away. Then I know that I say working in the art business and also in the paper business, your company providing papers to newspapers, and then breeding horses. You, for a certain time of your life, you played polo at a very high level.
That's correct. Yeah, I played polo for 45 years.
But I'm not an expert in polo, but I have seen some good players playing in Deauville and in the UK. I remember at Windsor, I saw Carlos Gracida playing, was handicap 10, it was a fantastic player. But I've been told that you played extremely well. You had a very good handicap. You were not because usually the captain of the teams, they are not very good, but you were pretty good, if I'm not wrong.
Thank you. Our team was very successful. Of course, I knew Carlos Gracida very well. And Memo, his brother, Carlos had an accident and passed away, and was a great polo player, and probably the best polo player ever to play in England. And he won the Gold Cup many times. But so he would have been a 10-goal player. I was a 7-goal player at my height.
Well, but seven handicap player for, let's say, an amateur, because you were not a professional player. This is a fantastic achievement, I think. Usually, so for instance, King Charles, he used to play polo, but of course he was not at your level.
No, he was a good player. His father was a 6-goal player, and he got to be a 4-goal player. So he played for a long time, and he did quite well.
Then from polo, you came back to horse racing, and you started in the best possible way, because you got Sottsass. And Sottsass, both at the Arcana says, he won the Prix du Jockey Club and he won the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe. So that was another fantastic achievement.
Yes, that was a great race to win, and that was a race that I always wanted to win, since I saw Mil Reef win, and I saw Ivan Zico win when I went to Paris and watched her run. So that was a race that I always very
Sorry
much.
if I interrupt you. You mentioned Ivan Zica. I remember Ivan Zica very well. Freddie had on board, and the Wertheimer father, the owner, because I remember very well, because I was in Paris. There was the Ladbrokes representative, and I had £50 to win at 12-1. I remember it very well.
And another interesting thing about that winner was Andy Warhol did her portrait, Ivan Zica's portrait.
Really?
Yeah, which hangs at Gainesway today in Andrew's office.
The portrait of Ivan Zica is not in the ownership of the Wertheimer, but is at Gainesway.
That's correct, yes.
My God, the next time that I will go to Gainesway, I want to have a look at the painting, because it should be something extraordinary. And then after Sottsass, you got the full sister to Sottsass, Sister Charlie, and she won how many, 6 or 7 Grade 1 in America?
No, actually, the first horse that I bought from that family was Sister Charlie, who was truly a great mare, and I rank as certainly one of the very greatest horses I've ever had the pleasure of owning. She won 7 Group 1s, and I think after she came to the States and we saw how good she was, then Michel Zarolo picked her out at the Arcana sale because we had asked him to look at her because he was Sister Charlie's half brother.
Sottsass. Yes, Sister Charlie, half sister to Sottsass.
Yeah, so Sottsass came first, and then came
Sister, Sister Chat.
and then came Sottsass and Sister Nat. We also purchased from Europe.
But anyway, from Europe, at the begin, I mean, at the beginning, when you came back into racing, you bought several very good horses that they did extremely well in the United States, trained by in the United States, trained by Chad Brown.
That's correct. Yes.
And how
Yes.
come that you discover this Chad Brown? Because Chad Brown was famous, but not that famous. I remember that my great friend, Prince Saud bin Khaled Al Saud, he gave him, in partnership with her partner, a filly that she won a race in the Breeders' Cup at Santa Anita. And then from there, Chad Brown told me that he started, and then you come across to him and you select him as your major trainer in the States.
Yeah, well, when I was in horse racing earlier, I was bringing horses over from Europe to run on the grass in the United States, and I watched him. I watched his record and saw that he was, one of the really good trainers on the turf, and that's really how we met. I mean, he and I met, and I liked him, and I think he liked me to get along with each other, and so that's how we started.
Yes, because you say that you had a look at his result on turf because he was assistant for many years to Bobby Frankel, that
Yes,
was the maestro of turf in California, having all the European horses and making them group winners, group one winners in the States. And unfortunately, he passed away quite early. But I have to say that Chad Brown, he took his baton in a very good way because he's a very, very successful trainer in America.
yes, he is that.
Then you move, if you move back, you start to be involved in a European operation with Coolmore, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, well, I've known John Magner for many, many years because when I started was, about the time that he was, you know, developing his skills with Vincent O'Brien, and I always liked him and thought he was very, very bright. And then, meeting his family and thinking, well, they were really doing things the right way. I thought that was a good approach to being involved in European racing.
And then, as you say, John Magnet at the time with Vincent O'Brien, his father-in-law, and with Robert Saxon, they made Northern Dancer in a certain way. When you made Mr. Prospector, they made Northern Dancer. And Mr. Prospector and Northern Dancer is a very good cross both
Yes.
ways. So I can understand that you select being this having discovered
Yeah.
Mr. Prospector, you move towards the people who create the Northern Dance. A very good cross.
Yes, and they were fortunate enough to stay with it for a long time and benefit from those crosses. But of course, with me, I did for a short time, but then I had to leave horse racing because I had to make a choice of either, putting most of my time, my free time, towards towards playing polo, and because I was, doing that sport myself and was progressing in it.
What's happened? Oh, cazzo. È sparito. No.
A bit of time off from the horse racing.
I see. But now you are pretty heavily involved with them. And I have to say that, sorry if I interrupt you. And then John Magnan, of course, now is supervising everything, but the team that he has, I have to say that is second to none.
Very good team, yes, very, very good. And
You,
MV Magner is, come to hand very, very quickly, and is taking the task. And his brother in Australia, it's yeah, it's a very, very good team.
And then they have another guy that is working with them, Paul Shannon, that is a fantastic judge of yearlings. You know, I know Paul Shannon since a long time, and is very successful with his breeding operation. Then Timmy Hyde is very successful. You know,
Yeah.
the most famous pin hooker.
Well, I guess the person that developed our relationship was Paul Shanahan. He was the first person that I reconnected with, and I like Paul a lot, and he does have a great eye, and he also has a great view on this business.
Yes, exactly. And then, they work together, if you wish, under the umbrella of John Magnier, because John Magnier usually goes to the stage before they start, and then he's always have an eye on the operation, giving instructed them how to deal, and then John Magnier, I have to say, in my opinion, is a real genius because, what he did is second to none. Nobody has matched what he did so far with his father-in-law, Vincent O'Brien, with Robert Sangster, and now with yourself, that, of course, you have a good eye because when you go to the sales, even in America, you discover very good horses in America outside the partnership with Coolmore.
Well, maybe eventually it does work, but you also have to be lucky.
No, I agree that you have to be lucky because otherwise, if you're not lucky, you don't succeed. But the first thing is to have the right team and to have the right eye to select the right horses, because otherwise you go to the sales and you might buy the wrong commodities, And then so far you have been extremely well because you had Group 1 winners with them. You have Stallion with them. For instance, Little Big Bear is at stud now. No, a Little Big Bear is a full brother Whistle Jacket. Today, this year with your color, won the Prix Morny.
Yes.
So I mean, the relationship is still going on in a very good way,
Yes, it
But
is.
in America, you stay on your own, apart from Sierra Leone.
Yeah, I keep my mares at Claiborne there, and I also keep some with Des Bryan, and we have half of our breeding stock in Ireland and half of our breeding stock in Kentucky.
Anyway, I've been several times to Claiborne, and when you get in and you see the graveyard of all the horses they stood there, is something out of this world. I mean,
Yes,
what
it
the
is.
Hancock family did is very fantastic. And now, finally, tell me something about the Sierra Leone, because I can't wait to see Sierra Leone in the British Cup Classic against City of Troy.
Well, he's a very special horse. I think Chad is, really enamored with him, and I am as well. Just he was the kind of horse that was a, chosen horse from the time he was a baby, and I think that he maybe didn't like Saratoga too much, because as some horses just don't like Saratoga, it's too firm for them, or it's too hard for them, or whatever. It's really a place where there are horses for courses, and having run there 3 times, I think we finally figured out that he was running not up to his best. So we expect that he'll run well in the Breeders' Cup, and we'll soon see.
If I'm not wrong, he's a big horse, no, Sierra Leone.
He's a very, very deceiving horse, because he's so well put together. He looks like he's average, above, a little bit above average size horse, but he's actually bigger than that. He stands probably 16.5.
And finally, can you tell me your feeling in the Kentucky Derby when you lost the race by probably a couple of millimeters?
Yeah, I thought it was, I thought that we had hooked up with the best horse in the race, which was the Japanese horse. And, and we made contact with one another, and I think it cost us both of us some ground. But I didn't see it at the same angle because I thought he had just gotten beaten. But then when I saw the film, I saw that it was just a few inches, and I got a little bit, more aggravated. But I was just happy that he ran really well. I mean, look, you go to the Kentucky Derby, if your horse runs well, you got to be very satisfied. You have to have luck and position to win, and there are a lot of great horses that were all-time greats that just didn't win. So I was very proud that I owned that horse and brought him that far.
Anyway, in a few weeks' time at Del Mar, there will be probably, I don't say the horse of the century, but for sure the race of the century, sorry, but for sure one of the races of the century. So Sierra Leone versus City of Troy. In a certain way, you will be with John Magner in Sierra Leone, and you will be against John Magner because John Magner, Michael Tabor, and Derek Smith, they own City of Troy. So it's a fantastic combination. And as I said before, I can't wait to see the race because it would be something out of this world, I guess.
Well, there are other really good horses in the race, but if it's between City of Troy and Sierra Leone, then I know at least John Magner will be very happy.
Yes. Anyway, if you have to promote the race, you have to say Sierra Leone versus City of Troy or City of Troy versus Sierra Leone. I know that there will be fierceness and other horses, but anyway, the promotion of the race of the last probably decades is these two horses running against each other.
Yeah, and I think that it's very sportsman of John Magner to run this horse because he's interested in breaking new ground. I mean, it's a disadvantage, obviously, as it was with Galileo to run on the dirt, and so it's not really a final measure of how great a horse he is. I mean, he is a horse that has achieved, which something that very few horses have achieved, and the fact that he's running on the dirt against dirt horses. I mean, it is a one in a lifetime feat. And so that's what makes it very exciting that you have a horse like that before he goes to stud, he's probably at the top of his game. And knowing Aidan O'Brien, I think that it's going to be a great, great race.
We have to bear in mind that they try with Giant Causeway.
Yes.
A Giant Causeway was beaten, I have to say, probably mainly because Mick Kinani lost the whip in the last half a furlong or so. So they are, and then they try Galileo, they try the other one, Dawn Generation, and so they want to win this race like they want to win the Triple Crown. Anyway, yes. I wish you best of luck, and I wish to thank you very much for your time. I think that it was a great program.
My pleasure to be with you.
Thank you very much.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.